In a gym on the south side of Chicago, everything was business as usual: sweat, gloves hitting bags, egos bouncing off the walls. That is, until one fighter opened his mouth and challenged the wrong person. Not another athlete. Not a coach, but the woman who cleaned the floors. No one expected her to say yes. Even fewer expected what happened next. But what unfolded that afternoon changed more than just one man's reputation. It exposed a truth most people overlook every day. You never really know who you're standing next to. This is the story of a black belt who mocked a woman he underestimated, and how she changed him forever. It's about pride, humility, pain, and the quiet strength that doesn't scream or flex, it simply waits. And if you think this is just another underdog story, think again. Because what Maria carried onto that mat wasn't just skill, it was a lifetime of battles no one saw coming. Stick around until the end. You'll understand why this fight didn't end when someone tapped out. It began when someone finally woke up. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that like button. It helps more people find stories like this. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel for more real, powerful stories that stick with you long after the video ends. Comment below and let us know. Backhand index pointing right: what country and city are you watching from? We love seeing how far these stories travel and who they reach. Now, the gym smelled of sweat, vinyl, and testosterone. It was a Tuesday afternoon in Chicago's South Side, and the rhythm of gloves hitting bags echoed between the walls like a heartbeat. Some came to train seriously, others just to show off. And then there was him, Tyler Raines, 28 years old, black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, undefeated in 4 amateur fights, local Instagram celebrity. Tyler had a following not just because he could fight, but because he could perform. Every session came with trash talk, pranks, and live streams. People gathered to watch, not always for technique, but for spectacle. Today was no different. He leaned against the cage wall, laughing with his friends. "I need a warm-up roll, anyone?" he called out. "Where's the janitor lady? Maybe she wants to try." The room laughed. In the back corner near the water fountain, a woman paused mid-mop. She wore gray sweatpants, a faded zip-up hoodie, and her hair tied in a low bun. Her name tag read Maria. Tyler grinned. "Come on, Maria, one round." "I'll go easy." More laughter. One of the front desk guys called out, "Don't do it, Maria. He chokes people for breakfast." She didn't smile, just looked at him. For a moment, it was as if the mop became a staff in her hands, steady, silent, and unimpressed. Then, without a word, she walked toward the mat. People assumed she didn't speak much English. She'd been cleaning the gym for about 2 months. Quiet, efficient, always early. No one knew much about her. Most didn't even notice she was there. Tyler raised an eyebrow. "Seriously?" She nodded. Laughter turned to murmurs. A few phones came out. Someone whispered, "This is gonna be so bad." They squared off. Tyler gave a wink and a mocking bow. Maria stood calmly, feet shoulder-width apart, relaxed like she'd done this before. The bell rang. Tyler moved in fast, aiming for a light clinch, the kind you'd use on a beginner. But within seconds, something shifted. She pivoted, gripped his arm, and flipped him over her hip. It wasn't luck. It was clean, technical. Judo, maybe Aikido? He hit the mat harder than expected. There was silence. Tyler laughed it off, scrambled to his feet, this time more cautious. He shot in for a takedown, but Maria sprawled, countered, and before anyone could blink, she had his back, hooks in, arm across his throat. He tapped, fast. For a few seconds, no one moved. Tyler rolled away, gasping. The gym was dead quiet. One of the younger fighters whispered, "What the hell just happened?" Maria stood up, adjusted her hoodie, and walked back to her mop. No celebration, no grin, just silence and a room full of people who would never look at her the same way again. From that moment on, every whisper in that gym carried her name. And the next morning, Tyler arrived at the gym 2 hours earlier than usual. The parking lot was nearly empty, and for once, he didn't announce his entrance with a selfie or an Instagram story. He walked in wearing a hoodie pulled over his head and kept his gaze low. His jaw still ached from the choke, not physically, but in pride. That tap echoed in his head all night. He hadn't told anyone, but he rewatched the footage at least 20 times. Every time the same conclusion: Maria didn't get lucky, she dismantled him. Calm, technical, no wasted movement. That wasn't street fighting, that was mastery. The worst part wasn't the tap. It was the way she walked away like it didn't mean anything. Coach Dean, a former middleweight pro, stood by the ring drinking black coffee. "You're early," he said. Tyler nodded. "Good, you should be." Dean didn't say more, but Tyler could tell he knew. Everyone did. By now the video was everywhere. Midway through warm-up drills, Maria entered the gym. She wasn't mopping. She wore simple black workout pants, a fitted t-shirt, and carried an old, battered duffel bag. No branding, no flash. Tyler watched her. So did Coach Dean. Dean crossed his arms. "She's not just cleaning staff, is she?" "No," Tyler said quietly. "She's something else." Maria made her way to the far side of the mat. Alone, she began her routine: stretches, breathing exercises, footwork drills. Her movements were precise, disciplined, not showy, just efficient, like she'd done this for years. Dean walked over to her. "Excuse me," he said, respectful. "That throw yesterday, where'd you learn it?" She looked up, her eyes calm but unreadable. "Okinawa," she said. Her accent was soft, controlled. "Before I had children." Dean nodded slowly. "You trained there?" She didn't answer directly. "Long time ago." Something about the way she spoke carried weight. She wasn't hiding, but she wasn't offering more than necessary. "Would you consider helping with the women's self-defense class?" Dean asked. She paused. "No," and that was it. She went back to her drills. By noon, the gym buzzed again. The regulars poured in and the whispers followed. Tyler felt them at his back. "That's her. She tapped him out in under a minute. No cap, bro, she's legit." Some people smirked. Others looked at Maria with a kind of cautious reverence. But the person who seemed most uncomfortable was Tyler himself. He hated losing, but more than that, he hated not understanding why he lost. What technique was that? Who taught her? What did she mean, "before I had children"? Later that evening, Tyler sat alone on the bleachers, scrolling through YouTube, searching for old judo competitions, Okinawan dojos, anything. He couldn't find her, no record, no mention, but he knew what he saw. This woman was no janitor, and if she wouldn't talk, he'd find someone who would. Tyler showed up the next day not to spar, not to pose for his followers, but to watch. He kept his gear bag zipped and his phone in his pocket. He sat on the edge of the mat with a notebook. It surprised everyone, especially Coach Dean. Maria was already there, silently working through her movements like always. Today she was focused on foot sweeps, precise timing, balance. She repeated the same transition over and over: pivot, hook, shift, recenter. She moved like someone who had nothing to prove and everything under control. Tyler watched for an hour straight, scribbling notes. He didn't understand half of what he wrote, not yet, but he wasn't there for pride anymore. Dean walked by and stopped. "What exactly are you doing?" Tyler looked up. "Learning." Dean raised an eyebrow. "From her?" Tyler nodded. "She's better than anyone I've faced, and I've faced pros." Dean crossed his arms. "And she's not trying to teach you." "I don't need her to teach me," Tyler said. "I need to figure out how she fights. I need to understand what she's hiding." Maria finished her drills and wiped her face with a towel. On her way past Tyler, she glanced at the notebook in his lap. "Watching doesn't teach you balance," she said without stopping. Tyler stood. "Then help me." She didn't answer. "I'm not here to embarrass you. I'm not angry anymore. I just want to learn." She stopped at the edge of the mat and turned around. "You're not ready," she said. "Not to fight, to listen." Tyler hesitated. "I'm listening now." "No, you're watching, that's different." He stepped forward. "Then tell me, what should I be listening to?" She looked at him for a long moment. Then walked toward the back corner where the old heavy bags were. She pointed to the one with the ripped stitching. "Hit it, don't think, don't talk, just hit." Tyler followed. He began striking straight punches, basic combos, nothing fancy. After a few minutes, she stopped him. "You hit like you want people to hear you, not like you want to feel something." He blinked. "What does that mean?" She stepped forward. "You're loud, you perform, but you don't listen to what's behind your own fists. You fight to dominate, I fought to survive." The words hit harder than any punch. Maria turned and walked away. "You want to understand me? Then stop chasing attention. Start chasing control." Tyler stood there, sweat dripping, his heartbeat slowly settling. He had trained under champions, drilled with world-class coaches, but this woman who mopped floors and never smiled had just read him like a book. And for the first time since he stepped into a gym at 16, he felt like a student again. That night he didn't post, he didn't party. He went home, stood in front of his mirror and watched his own stance. He threw punches in silence. He let go of power, focused on rhythm, breath, intent. He was beginning to understand something. Maria wasn't just better than him. She was free in a... Rain poured down over the city the next morning, washing the streets in gray. Tyler arrived early again, soaked through his hoodie, but he didn't care. He left his gloves in his bag this time. He wasn't here to fight. Maria was already inside, drying the edges of the mat with an old towel, moving with her usual quiet efficiency. No one else had arrived yet, just the hum of the vending machine and the distant echo of water dripping in the locker room. Tyler approached her slowly. "I'm here to mop," he said. She looked up, one eyebrow raised. "I'm not joking," he said. "If I want to understand where you come from, I need to start where you are." She didn't smile, but there was a subtle shift in her expression, a flicker of something like acknowledgement. She handed him a second towel, no instructions, just acceptance. They worked in silence. For the next several days, that became their pattern. Tyler showed up early, clean, trained alone, observed. Maria said little. Occasionally, she corrected his stance with a simple gesture. No compliments, no praise, just refinement. She never explained what she was doing, she just showed him how to strip away excess. Movement by movement. One morning, after nearly 2 weeks of this silent rhythm, Maria sat beside him by the window after training. The rain had stopped. Sunlight cut through the blinds and landed on the edge of the mat. She spoke softly. "Do you know what it's like to train with men who think you're fragile until you break their ribs?" Tyler looked at her. "I think I'm starting to understand. I was national level in Havana, back when Cuba still had a judo program that mattered. He didn't interrupt. My coach wanted to marry me. I was 19, I refused. He cut me from the team. Silence, the sound of traffic outside, distant sirens, the truth of her past settling in the room like dust. I left, crossed to Florida on a fishing boat with two brothers who didn't speak a word of Spanish. Got to Chicago with nothing but a duffel bag and a broken wrist. Why'd you stop fighting? Tyler asked. She paused. My son, she said simply. He got sick. I worked 3 jobs to pay for treatments. Fighting didn't pay for medicine. Cleaning did. Tyler leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Did he make it? Her eyes remained fixed on the mat. No, the word landed like a stone, heavy, final. She stood. That's why I don't need to prove anything anymore. Tyler didn't try to console her. He didn't know how, and he sensed she wouldn't want it anyway. Instead, he said something he'd never said in the gym before. I'm sorry, Maria nodded. Now you can hit the bag, and this time mean it. From that day forward, his movements changed. The flash disappeared. He punched quieter, kicked slower. Every move had weight now, not for show, but for truth. People noticed. Coach Dean pulled him aside one afternoon. What's going on with you? I stopped fighting like I was invincible, Tyler said, and started fighting like I was grateful. Dean stared at him, silent for a long time. Then, you're finally learning. The next time Maria watched him spar, she nodded once. It was the first time she ever gave him anything close to approval. The gym buzzed with quiet intensity as a new flyer appeared on the bulletin board near the front desk. Chicago Open Invitational 3 weeks away, all styles welcome. Tyler stared at it for a long moment. His name wasn't listed, he hadn't signed up. He turned to Coach Dean. I'm not ready. Dean shrugged. Maybe not, but that never stopped you before. This time's different. You're training like it matters now. That's a start. Later that afternoon, Tyler found Maria rolling up mats in the back room. You ever compete here? He asked. She didn't look up. Once. Did you win? She gave the smallest smile he'd ever seen from her. I didn't lose. He leaned against the wall, hands in his pockets. There's a tournament coming up, 3 weeks, no weight classes, no belts, just skill. She kept working. I want to fight, he said, but not for attention, not for followers. I want to test myself honestly. She stood, met his eyes. If you're fighting to prove something to others, you'll lose. If you're fighting to prove something to yourself, you'll break. But if you're fighting to remember who you are, then maybe you have a chance. He nodded slowly. That night, Tyler signed up. Word spread fast. His name on the bracket drew attention, especially after the video of Maria had already made quiet waves in local martial arts circles. People wanted to see if he'd changed, or if he was still the same guy who got humbled on camera. Maria didn't train him directly, she watched from a distance. Sometimes she gave one-line corrections, other times just a look. Tyler learned to read her eyes like a language. 2 days before the tournament, he found a small note in his gym bag, folded in half, written in clean block letters. Keep your breath low, your hips steady, and your fear honest. He didn't need more than that. The day of the tournament, the gym hosting the event was packed. Chicago's underground fight scene had turned out in full force. Boxers, grapplers, street fighters, former pros. Tyler stood backstage, wrapping his hands. He heard his name over the loudspeaker. First match. Maria wasn't there, at least not that he could see. He walked out under the lights, no cheers, no music. Just that familiar vinyl smell, the squeak of bare feet on canvas, and the focused stare of his opponent, a heavy-set guy with cauliflower ears and a wrestler's stance. The bell rang. Tyler didn't rush, he didn't flinch. He listened not to the crowd, not to the pressure, but to the space between movements. The match was brutal. Clinches, takedowns, sweat, pain. But Tyler moved with something new, restraint, precision, respect for each second. 3 minutes in, he landed a clean sweep, took the back and secured the choke. Tap, silence, then applause. It wasn't viral, it wasn't flashy, it was earned. In the crowd at the back of the room, Maria stood with her arms crossed. She didn't smile, but when he looked at her, she gave him the smallest nod. That was enough. Back in the locker room, Tyler sat alone, his hands shaking slightly, the adrenaline fading. Coach Dean entered and dropped a bottle of water beside him. You know, Dean said, everyone was waiting to see if you'd showboat again. Tyler looked up. Did I? No, Dean said, you showed heart. Tyler leaned. Summer crept slowly into Chicago. The streets outside the gym buzzed with energy, festivals, music, kids running through spray from broken fire hydrants. But inside the gym, everything felt quieter now, more focused. Tyler no longer filmed his sessions. He trained early, stayed late, and took notes after every round. The crowd of onlookers had mostly moved on. What he did now wasn't for them. It had been 2 weeks since the tournament. He hadn't seen Maria since. Coach Dean said she took some time off. Maybe she needed space, he said, or maybe she knew you didn't anymore. One night, Tyler stayed behind after closing. He was mopping the floor, not for content, not for drama, just because it needed to be done. That's when he saw the duffel bag. old, faded with a Cuban flag patch on the side, sitting near the lockers. He turned. She was there. Maria leaned in the doorway, arms crossed. "I saw the fight," she said. He didn't say anything at first, just nodded. "You fought with your eyes open," she added. "Not many people do that." "I had a good teacher," he said. She walked in, dropped a folded gi beside him. "I'm leaving the gym," she said. "Found work with a youth program across town. Real martial arts, no mirrors. Just kids who need to learn how to stand again." Tyler picked up the gi. It was old but clean, faded black, stitching worn thin. "Yours?" he asked. She nodded. "You don't need it anymore." "I don't need people to see it anymore," she said, "but someone should carry what it taught me." He held it carefully. "Why me?" he asked. "You listened," she said. "That's rarer than talent." Silence passed between them. The kind that only happens between people who have endured something unspoken together. Before she turned to leave, she said, "Don't waste it trying to be the best, just be honest. Every round, every breath." She walked out. He didn't stop her. The door closed behind her with a soft click. Outside, traffic moved like a distant river. Inside, the gym echoed with stillness. Tyler stood alone, holding the gi in both hands, not as a trophy. Not as redemption, but as a reminder of what he'd learned, of who he'd been, and of the quiet woman who came to mop a floor and left having changed. Enjoyed the story? Then hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us keep bringing powerful, real-life inspired stories like this one. Drop a comment, what would you have done in his shoes? And don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss an episode.